The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Okay, welcome to P.P. Simmons Radio with your host, Carl Gallups. My guest today is Mike Zullo, the lead investigator with the Sheriff Joe Arpaio cold case posse out of Maricopa County, Arizona Sheriff's Office. Now, Mike Zullo is in the middle of investigating the Obama identification document fraud and forgery, and he's very close to possibly getting this matter before the appropriate federal and state authorities for potential prosecution. But it seems, Mike Zullo, by the way, thanks for being on the show today, Mike.
Thank you, Carl.
It seems, Mike, that some of the biggest hindrances coming your way have to do with people who claim to be in your corner, yet they are oftentimes victims of erroneous information and tons of misinformation. Isn't that right? There are a lot of twisting of words going on out there, twisting words and that are spinning out of control right now, right?
That's true, Carl. After the interview you and I did last Friday, I'm amazed to see how words have been wickered to take things completely out of context and propagate them all over the internet and watch this thing mushroom into nothing but falsehoods and getting people riled up over lies. They're just lies.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me, but I think it's a perfect example for your listeners to do a little homework and realize how the internet has the ability to disseminate misinformation.
Right. Well, I remember I asked you a hypothetical question on that radio show, and it seems like that's one of the things that's been just spinning out of control. Do you remember that question about the worst case scenario if it all fell apart and nothing was accomplished? Would you tell people what happened and what the process was? And you said yes, but that thing has gotten just blown out of proportion, hasn't it?
It has, and this is the most amazing part of this. That interview is out there recorded for the world to listen to. The hypothetical question you asked me was just that. If this all fell apart, if nobody would do what they promised to us that they were going to do, would I tell all? That word tell all, and if you listen to that segment of the recording, it is evident that we are just talking about releasing the facts surrounding trying to move forward.
Right.
That turned into me wanting to write a book, and now has gotten turned into me dragging this investigation out for the purposes of writing a book.
Yeah, I think when you and I were talking about that, I don't think the word book even came up, did it?
It never came up. It was a hypothetical question, just like I am doing now, by doing something that is unprecedented, trying to keep your listeners as up to date as I can in the moving forward of what I think is one of the most critical things ever to affect this country. And there are people out there taking these words and twisting them.
Right.
And causing a fever pitch and people demanding filing of complaints and filing of charges. I mean, people need to slow down.
Right.
The armchair quarterbacks need to go back into the huddle.
Well, explain this, Mike. What's the difference between filing a complaint and filing a charge, and where are you in this process?
Filing a complaint is something that the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, the Sheriff Arpaio, could do when he deems appropriate, bringing it to an attorney general or a county prosecutor. It is the prosecutor or the Maricopa County attorney, who I don't think has jurisdiction in this, will file the charges. There is a difference. Filing the complaint, we would have to take our information to one of these bodies, present it, and they would have to make a decision if they felt there was creditable enough merit behind it, and they could successfully prosecute it to file charges. And all I am going to say on this topic, and this will be the last time I address this topic, filing charges is not something the county sheriff does. Sheriff Arpaio has never promised to file charges or even file a complaint. He's promised to investigate this matter. And the reality is, and I won't go into the details, But if we were to file a complaint today, it will have of no effect, and this matter will close.
Yeah. Well, timing of filing the complaint is very important, isn't it?
The timing is critical because you're only going to get one shot at this. And we're going to take that when Sheriff Arpaio feels it is at its prime, not a day, second, millisecond before.
Right.
And the people are going to have to realize that this investigation is not going to be controlled by any outside pressure, writing letters, or whatever everybody out there is screaming about. This is going to go according to the plan that the sheriff and I have discussed on numerous occasions, and we are going to move forward. And Carl, in addition to that, I would really encourage your listeners to listen to that audio recording and then compare it to those websites that are out there twisting these words. It is mind-boggling how they take information in a recorded conversation and can't get it right.
Right. And we'll make sure that we get a link to that specific recorded conversation so that folks can do that after listening to this interview. So, no, that's very important what you just said, that there's no outside pressure, no amount of harassing and cajoling, no amount of letter writing and email campaigns is going to pressure you and the cold case posse and the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and Joe Arpaio, all of whom are professionals, law enforcement professionals. You guys are just not going to be cajoled into jumping out ahead of your game plan.
Just not going to happen. It can't happen. I have almost 2 years of my life invested in this. Do you think I'm doing this to lose?
Right. No, I know, and I understand. And, of course, I'm in a position of knowing so much more than most people do because of my involvement with you. I don't know everything you know, but I know an awful lot of what you know, and I understand what you're saying is absolutely correct. And, of course, I also spent many years in Florida law enforcement as a sworn officer, deputy sheriff, and I understand how the process works. I think, Mike, probably what's happening more than anything, there are some nefarious people out there who are, up to no good for sure, trying to derail the thing. And some of them are even pretending to be like they're on your side, but really they're trying to derail it. But I think what's probably happening, and of course you're free to disagree with me if you do disagree, but I think that a lot of people, millions of people, I think they're just getting impatient. They're coming unglued as they're watching the Benghazi scandal and the IRS scandal and the AP scandal and the Fast and Furious scandal and now this. And I think people are just ready to get this guy addressed in all of these legal matters. And I think yours is so huge, Mike. This document fraud case is huge. And people know about it. More and more people are knowing about it. And I think they're just freaking out and getting impatient. What do you think?
Well, and I could appreciate it. On the other hand, if I could be a little selfish, think about how frustrating it is for me. I am the one doing the legwork.
Right.
I'm the one traveling all over the country. I've been to 6 states. Right. I've interviewed up-teen people, and nobody wants it done more than I do. Right. I'm the guy out there taking the punches.
Right.
But you have to understand that this is going to go the way a lot of legal cases go. It takes time to build them up.
Yeah.
And when you pull the trigger on one of these, you want every I dotted, every T crossed, because you're only going to get one shot. And the other thing, Carl, I want your listeners to really mark the calendar today. In 2 weeks, they are going to find out how wrong these other people truly are, how ill-informed they are.
Yeah.
This investigation is moving forward, and it may not seem like it to them. It is moving forward faster than it ever has.
Yes, it has. There are more people involved. There are more things happening. There are more plans being laid for an actual possible prosecution of this or deep investigation that leads to some type of prosecution than ever before. And it's happening quickly. You and I that because we're the ones on the other end of the phone calls. You more than me, but we both know that. And I know the other folks don't. But we're trying to keep them posted without giving away the game plan.
And it's a very difficult thing to do. It's something that you normally wouldn't do. Look, it's easier for me to conduct business not doing this.
Yeah.
But I feel there's an obligation to
Yeah.
folks across the country.
Yeah.
And, I hope we gave you another glimpse of hope. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep you informed as best we can without giving away the farm. And I can tell you this, there isn't one question you've ever asked me on this radio show that I haven't been as candid as I can possibly be without jeopardizing the investigation, and they've all been truthful.
Yeah. Now, no, you're absolutely correct on that. I know that, Mike, and I appreciate it. I think the vast majority of our listeners appreciate it as well. Of course, I know the Obama bots listen to everything we say, and of course, they're always there to try to twist and tear down and spin words out of control. And I just want to emphasize again, when I asked you that hypothetical question, the question had nothing to do with the book, although you're well within your rights and probably expectations as the months and years go by. People will expect you to put some kind of document out there when this is over with, just like Woodward and Bernstein and Watergate. I mean, they would have been thought selfish if they had not published something after all that was over with. So there's the possibility you might do that. But the question I asked you was simply, it went to the truthfulness of this whole investigation. And that is, Mike, number one, you're just after the truth. So if somebody presents 100% verifiable legal evidence tomorrow that your investigation is no good, I mean, you would deal with that. You would report that. That was the first part. And then the second part was, if all of this falls apart tomorrow, and everybody that's promising us they'll move it forward just backs away after you and I have made all of these promises of something getting ready to happen, you would come forward, probably on the radio and or in print, and tell people about it. I mean, you're not going to just leave it all hanging out there. And that was the question I asked. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, and I wouldn't do that. If this all fell apart, there are going to be actors involved that caused it to fall apart, and people have a right to know that.
Yeah.
And Carl, if I could just say one other thing. The only document I'm interested in writing is an investigational report that results in a conviction.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm interested in writing. Nothing else.
Yeah.
So if anybody thinks that we're doing this to make money or whatever they're thinking, there's no money in this.
Yeah. In fact, I know the information, the detailed information, and it's really the other way around.
It is very much so the other way around.
Yeah, I understand. Well, Mike, you've been very, very helpful, and I thank you so much for your time. We're always imposing upon you. I know you're super busy. You've got meetings today and conferences today, and I think you've got lined up some tomorrow, too. And as you said, just in the next few weeks, there should be something coming out publicly where people can see how quickly this really is moving along.
Well, Carl, I just want to say one other thing. I've read some of the comments on P.P. Simmons that your listeners and viewers have left, and I have to tell you, there are some extremely insightful people, very intelligent people that are in your audience. And I think for me, the one thing I covet more than anything else is their prayers for success. That's all I care about.
Yeah, well, Mike, and you've got that, and a lot of our listeners are tremendous believers, and they are prayer warriors, and you are under our prayers. We know that you are under all manner of demonic attack in this thing, so we've got you covered in prayer, my friend. So, Mike Zullo, God bless you. Thank you for being with us today. We'll make sure that we get this broadcast to as many people as possible. And I know in the next few weeks, millions of folks will have heard it or seen it through one venue or another on the Internet. So God bless you. Folks, you've been listening to P.P. Simmons Radio. Your host, Carl Gallups, today. Mike Zullo has been our guest with the very latest update and straightening out some information that's been spun completely out of whack. Mike Zullo, thank you for being with us. We'll have you back soon. God bless you.
Thank you, Carl.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.